we'll be taking a look at something that I've wanted to do for a long time, ever since Iron Man 2 came out, but things just kept getting in the way. So finally I decided I'm going to take all my Iron Man figures from Marvel Legends and take a look at them. And of course, I'm going to start with the first appearance Iron Man, which came from Wave 14. Although not my favorite Iron Man, it is cool to have the first appearance Iron Man figure in a Marvel Legends form. Now he doesn't have any chest articulation, but that's okay with the bulkiness of this suit. And you got a nice silver paint job and a few details. You can see rivets on him, various different places. The mask does come off. In fact, it's very loose and doesn't really stay on there too well. And this figure has been very problematic for me over the years. He's very stiff trying to pose his neck left and right, but he's very loose up and down, so oftentimes his head will drop and the face mask will come right off. Right out of the package, this arm came all the way off, and I've since had to glue it several times. Trying to pose this arm, it's very stiff for me as well. So rather than force it, I don't use it at all. But he's double jointed at the arms. Got the rotation at the bicep there. Rotates and bends at the wrists here. All the fingers on his hand are individually articulated. Got nice articulation in the hips, forward and back, out and in. Rotate at the thigh. Double knee joints. He rotates at the boot and bends at the ankle. Also, this wrist here is very limp, as you can see. I don't know if this is my particular figure or all the figures. So I tend to treat this guy very gingerly. Again, he's not one of my more favorite Iron Man figures. Now, I do enjoy having him. I mean, he's the first appearance Iron Man. You gotta have him. Moving on to, which is probably the first and probably the best Iron Man figure from Marvel Legends. And that's the back to Series 1, I believe. Yep, Series 1. And this mold is so great that they've used it a lot of times. Other Iron Man suits, and even for non-Iron Man figures such as Magneto. Yes, Magneto shares the same body as Iron Man. I do like the paint scheme. Getting into articulation, you still have great range with the head here. The arms, pretty tough to go all the way around, but they do go all the way around. He's got the extra shoulder joints than a lot of the Toy Biz Marvel Legends have. And they look pretty good until you get them from the back, where it looks like their whole shoulder is detached from their bodies. But if you look at it from the front, you do get some really dynamic poses from that joint. Of course, you got the rotation in the bicep, double elbows, wrists, and the fingers this time are all on one joint. He's got waist articulation and a little bit of upper torso articulation, which kind of seems redundant as it's mostly left and right rather than forward and back. Got nice hip articulation as well. The power pods here do get in the way a little bit, but not too much. So you get a wide range of motion there. Rotate at the upper thigh, double knee joints, rotate at the boot here, bend at the ankle, as well as have a pivot so you can get nice wide stances from this guy. Of course, his face mask comes off to reveal Tony Stark, and it's still my favorite sculpt of the Tony Stark face. Now, like I've said, they've used this body for a couple of repaints, retools, in the same wave actually too, because there's a totally black one, which is the stealth version of the suit, and a golden paint version with a horned mask, which is actually the predecessor to this suit. I mean, this suit is so good and so iconic that Hasbro did their version in the Iron Man Mariah Hill 2-pack. Well, this is a much skinnier version. I think really fits in a little bit better. The coloring here is a little bit too neon for me, but I do like the metallic paint on this one. I've already reviewed this guy, so you can check that out if you want to. Moving on to another figure that uses this for a base starting point. Here's the Silver Centurion suit from, I believe this is Wave 7. And again, you can see it has some of the same articulation there. Minor changes in the boots. The gauntlets and the boots, as well as this add-on belt cod piece here, and the shoulder pads and backpack to the armor here. It's just glued over the existing mold there. And again, this comes out slightly different face sculpt, and the face mask here is quite rubbery for some reason. I don't know why they did that, but they also, with this figure, did something really odd, because they included this deep space rig, which is actually used by the suit that follows this suit, and as well as the previous suit, with slight changes. But they decided to give it to this figure, and as you can see on the backpack, there's 2 pegs, and you just fit it into there, and this fits over, and the belt clips together, but doesn't hold too much. This is a bizarre choice to go with, but you could probably use this with the original suit as well. To give it a more accurate look. If you want to go by exactly the comics, because I cannot recall a moment where he uses that backpack, the deep space backpack in this suit. Now I may be wrong. This mold is used once more for an Iron Man. Well, technically it's War Machine, but so this base is used for War Machine as well. So they got a lot of use out of that first figure, and to this day, I think it remains the best for posing and looks of all the Iron Man figures. We have from the Face Off series, we have this modular Iron Man, and so called because the gimmick in the early 90s when this suit showed up, he would have different components that would do different things depending upon the mission. He could connect them and disconnect them. Now, I do not particularly fond of this guy. I do like the suit during this period, so it is nice to have it, but this particular suit, the paint job is pretty bad. You see the gold there. Just not too good. He's got pretty good articulation. The head, okay, there we go. So his arms, that's as far as they go in. And they go all the way around. They go out, rotate, pretty standard by now. Double joints at the knees and elbows. Pretty stiff ab articulation. You can hear that clicking there. Ratcheting. Waist articulation. Still got the nice articulation at the hip there. Rotate at the upper thigh. Very narrow. And bend, and still has a slight ankle pivot there. And this guy actually has toe joints. But because of the mold, they don't do much there. Oh, the other guys did have toe joints too. I forgot to mention that. I don't. That's not a joint that I use too often, so I tend to forget that it's there. So anyway, of course, this mask comes off as well. It's a little bit more tricky, since the way it fits into there. You gotta squeeze it on and off. So there's that sculpt. Don't really like that too much. And to put this back on, you kind of have to fit it on underneath and make sure it stays on there, but it stays on there pretty well. Now, moving on to the last figure is the 4-Buster Iron Man. And, of course, designed specifically to take down Thor. This is from Series 15, one of the last series. And I think it really shows because the quality is not quite there. The paint job isn't too good on the legs here. I really don't like the type of paint that they used. Sloppy paint job everywhere. And just the way the figure is molded. I mean, they've got these weird designs that show up in the plastic itself. It just doesn't seem to be as good a quality. You can see here is something pressed against the causing this to wear. Just overall quality feels a lot cheaper plastic than any of the other ones. So again, he has pretty much all the same articulation there. The chest, the pieces here, although they are a little bit bigger, they still allow full rotation. Their arms go out, same, pretty much the same. It does have nice hip articulation here, pretty straightforward. Doesn't have the same problems some of the later Legends figures have, where you gotta sort of rotate the leg to get them into good positions. A very stiff figure. The one good thing about it is that it has very nice foot pivot. Of course, being an Iron Man figure, you gotta have the face mask removed, and still not too good of a Stark sculpt there. And of course, this armor is based on the Destroyer armor, or robot, that was created by Odin. And he makes a great display with a couple of other figures. We have the unmasked Captain America from the Face Off series, and the Lord Thor from the first or the second Hasbro series. I think it's the second Hasbro series. And it's almost, you can create a setup almost directly out of the comic crossover called Standoff, which took place in, I'm going to say, Avengers, Thor, and Iron Man. The Lord, Thor, and Iron Man were pitted against each other, with Captain America in the middle trying to broker some sort of peace between the two. And that about does it. I unfortunately passed up on two Iron Man figures that I regret not having now, and those are the modern day Iron Man, modern back then, and the Hulkbuster Iron Man is a massive figure. So anyway, that's it. Stay tuned. I'm going to take a look in the same way, go through all my Thor figures, which I will include Beta Ray Bill in. So anyway, until then, see ya.